Today we're jumping to 4-3. Dividing fractions. It's on page 136. So, when we multiplied, if we said, for example, 3/5 times 1/3. We've been focusing so far on multiplication. Remind me, since it was last week at this time, how do we multiply fractions? Tice?
You could either reduce first or simplify after.
You can simplify first or after, which is great, right? We could simplify these threes, but let's pretend we didn't do that. Let's pretend we're not 6th graders, and maybe this is the end of 5th grade. How do we solve multiplication? Go ahead, Charlotte.
We do across, we do 3 times 1.
So we multiply across, right? We just go straight across. 3 times 1 is 3. And we're in 6th grade, so we know that we're like going to try to reduce, right, and keep our numbers small. But just in case we blank on a test or quiz, we're just multiplying across. 5 times 3 is 15. Then you're going to check this answer and make sure that it's simplified or reduced all the way so that you can receive full credit, right? So if you leave it as 3/15, you'll still get partial credit. But 3 goes into both these numbers, so if you divide 3 by 3, you get 1. And if you divide 15 by 3, you get 5. So our answer is 1/5. Okay, so that's just a quick review, right? That was last week we multiplied. So today, if we take the same 2 fractions, okay? And I say 3/5 divided by 1/3. What do we know about multiplication and division? What are they? They're opposites. They're opposites. So how are we going to opposite solve? Audrey?
Wasn't it like you have to find like a common denominator?
So that's only when we add and subtract, but that is a great thing to bring up, right? You need a common denominator when we add and subtract. Reese, what do you think?
Do we just go across and do 3 divided by 1?
So it's tricky.
Or do we do this thing where you like simplify it and then you like divide it?
No. Tice, do you have a guess?
You divide across like
Sort of. So this, we're going to make big asterisks, okay? We get this really fun word, reciprocal. What is a reciprocal?
That's fun. Oh wait, what?
Reciprocal.
What is it?
RECIPROCAL. Reciprocal is how you say that. Shh. A reciprocal is when you flip your fraction. So that the product equals 1. For example, if I was to take any fraction, maybe I say 2/3. 2/3 was my original fraction. The reciprocal is 3/2. I flipped the numbers. I took the denominator and I put it in the numerator. And I took the numerator and I put it in the denominator. That's a reciprocal. You flip them. And if I was to check this definition, the product of 1, 2 times 3, product means multiply. 2 times 3 gives me 6, and 3 times 2 gives me 6, and 6/6 equals 1.
Oh, because 6/6 is 1 whole.
Because it's 1 whole.
Does it equal? Wait, what?
Okay? Okay. Shh. It's easier for me to help you if there's not side conversations. Let's try another one. Let's say this time I have 3/5. 3/5. What is the reciprocal of 3/5? The reciprocal is 5/3. Let's say I have 1/3. The reciprocal. What is the reciprocal? 3/1. Let's say I have 26/27. The reciprocal. Tice?
27/26. Boom.
So I heard, guys, I heard a lot of people say I don't get it. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Do you get it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so far we've only covered what a reciprocal is. That's all we've done. Okay. So, understanding what a reciprocal is very important to dividing fractions. Because the only way to make this different from this fraction up here is to find the reciprocal. So, step one. Step one. This is when dividing fractions. Okay? Find the reciprocal of the second. These are your notes, so you should write what's going to help you. Fraction. Now I'm going to underline second fraction because that's important. We are only flipping one fraction, and it is always the one after the division sign.
Wait, so that's
Max. Okay? After, so step two, after we have flipped the second fraction, then we can change the division sign to a multiplication sign.
Wait, I think I got it.
And then we follow the multiplication rules. Okay, so step one, you should be writing these in your notes. Step one, find the reciprocal of the second fraction, the one after the sign. The second one, not the first one, the second one. You find the reciprocal. Step two, then you change the sign. If you change the fraction, then you change the sign. So the division becomes a multiplication. Step three, then you follow all the multiplication rules that you guys have mastered. Then you can cancel if you see anything that is shared. Okay? Then you can multiply across. Yes.
So that answer up there would be, you change the reciprocal for the second number to be 3/1, and then it would be 9/5.
So 3/5 stays the same, and 1/3 turns into 3/1. The division sign turns into a multiplication, and I get 9/5. Is that a good answer?
Oh no, you have to. No, you can't simplify.
You can simplify. You cannot reduce. You cannot reduce, but 5, this is improper, right? So we don't want to leave it improper.
The top one can't be bigger than the bottom.
5 can go into 9 one time
Yeah.
with 4 left over. Okay, let's do another one. In your notes.
I like it. Yeah, this is fun. We need extra help. No.
Example 2. In your notes. Audrey, make sure you get this in your notes. Example 2. This time, let's say we have 5/10 divided by 5/6. Step 1. Find the reciprocal of the second fraction. So the first one stays the same, 5/10. The second one turns into 6/5 because I flip the numbers. The numerator becomes the denominator, and the denominator becomes the numerator. Step 2, then I change the sign. So the division sign becomes a multiplication sign because I changed the problem. I changed the second fraction, so that means I have to keep it balanced by changing the sign. Now, step 3, follow multiplication rules. Is anything jumping out at you, or should I just multiply across? Reese?
5 and 5 become 1.
Yeah, there's a 5 in the numerator and a 5 in the denominator, so that means I can cross cancel, right? We were working on that last week. Can I cancel anything else, or should I just multiply across?
You can.
Tice, what do you see?
You can turn 6 into a 3.
Yep.
And 5, the 10 into a 5.
Yeah, 2 went into both those numbers, so I can divide them by 2 and make those numbers even smaller. And then I can multiply across. So now I have 1 times 3 for the top. And I had 5 times 1 for the bottom. Is that simplified, reduced?
Yes.
It's a good answer. That is a good answer. Okay? Yes.
I didn't technically see this. I did one power reducing. I did one power reducing. Like 3 and 15, then I reduced that to 3 and 5.
Perfect.
And I got that.
Yeah. As long as it's okay if you reduce at the end or in the beginning. It just depends on your choice, right? As long as your math is correct. Mia Dev, question. Are you sure? You worked it out? All right, let's do one more in our notes, and then we're going to try a couple on whiteboards. Example 3. Example 3. Let's do a whole number. 5 divided by 3/8. What are we going to do? They don't look like fractions. Charlotte, what do I do?
Don't you just do 5 and 1?
5 over 1. 5 over 1. What do I do with 3/8? Do I just keep it 3/8?
No, you flip it.
I flip it. 8 over 3. What about the division sign? What do I do?
Change it to multiplication.
Last year I had someone who, whenever she saw division, she said, copy, change, change. So you copy the first fraction, then you change the sign, and then you change the second fraction. That's what she told herself so she wouldn't forget. Copy, change, change. Right? You got to figure out what works for you. Audrey?
Isn't it also called keep, change, flip?
Whatever words work for you. From here, can I cancel anything? Can I cancel anything? Does 5 go into 1 or 3? Does 8 go into 1 or 3? It doesn't. So I get 40 over 3. Is that a good answer? You can't have a bigger number on the top. It is reduced, but it is not simplified. So, off to the side, let's do this math. 40 goes in the box. 3 goes on the outside. 3 goes into 4 one time with 1 left over. Bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1 left over. What do I do with all these numbers? What do I do with these numbers? I have a 13, I have a 3, and I have a 1. Where do they go? Paul.
So the 13 is at the top, or no, the bottom.
So the 13 is my whole number. That's how many times 3 goes into 40. So 13 is what I start with. And then I have a fraction. What goes where?
The 1 goes at the top,
Yep, your remainder goes on top.
and then the 3 goes at the bottom.
And the 3 goes at the bottom because it was at the bottom. Then the denominator doesn't change. All right, you guys, whiteboard time.